y'all doing, Branson? First, I want to say you have one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And on that note, you know, we're talking about November, and just, you know, Paul Kurtman does about as good of a version of teaching the Constitution as any professor I can possibly think of. And I'm just like everybody else, I would love to see the GOP, yes, the Republican Party, constitutional conservative Republicans, dominate the Congress in November. I would love to see that. And on that note, you know, you hear a lot of stuff about, you know, we're being overtaxed, over-regulation for businesses, we're not teaching history correctly. But what I would like to do is maybe invite a lot of these Republican candidates to do a field trip to Branson, where this administration and this government has not taken away your American spirit. You see, I'm not here to promote a particular political party. I joined the Tea Party as somebody who was more of a historian and an economist, who more or less, up until Dana Lesh brought me into this movement, you know, I voted, you know, for George Bush because I think George Bush was a commander-in-chief. You see, when I first started realizing the importance of us getting involved in this movement was when I was watching the election between John McCain and Barack Obama, and they were discussing matters of defense. And then all of a sudden they started talking about what's the president going to do for the economy. And I said, well, you guys need to check something out. The one mandated power of the Constitution for the government is the defense of the people. I don't want presidents with economic policies. They shouldn't have them. It's an oxymoron. So what we need to do is, November is a long way away from me, because the fact is, I look at this community and it shows me that no matter how bad the government is, the people decide what their community is going to be like. And on that note, I do want to discuss a few things that have concerned me about what I consider to be a political bad history. Now, at one point, Hillary Clinton was doing her "I'm so left now. I'm not mid-America anymore. Now I'm a liberal like everyone else." And she said something that kind of bothered me, and I'm really disappointed that nobody called her out. She said the motion of the civil rights movement really didn't come into play until Lyndon Baines Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act. Let me help you out, Hillary. I know you guys made about $500 million, $500 million on Bill Clinton talking in Saudi Arabia or whatever, but I move furniture, and on my spare time I study a little history, okay? Let's go back to 1955, when a woman named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. About December 1, I believe. She didn't yell, she didn't scream, she simply said, "These are my rights, inalienable rights, granted by the Constitution, and you will not take them from me." On December 5th, a leader emerged, Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King became the leader of a motion to challenge this. Now, a lot of people talk about, well, Martin Luther King, was he a Republican or a Democrat? It doesn't matter. The reason why Martin Luther King relates to this movement is he realized something. He said, look, these are hard-working people with good families, people who go to work, and they're being denied by the state, by the government, the rights that were granted to them by God. Therefore, we as people, he didn't run to any federal officials. He said, we are going to inflict a penalty for these states not allowing us to do what we're going to do. And they organized, and they made sacrifices. And a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, it worked because the people felt sorry for them. No! That had nothing to do with it. It worked because they withheld their hard-earned private sector money from those communities, and they brought that community to its knees. And then afterwards, the federal government kind of jumped on board. And something interesting happened. People go, oh, Lyndon Baines Johnson, let's give him so much credit for the Civil Rights Act. Well, he's on record for saying, if you recall, Lyndon Baines Johnson was against integration. He was the leader of the movement against integration. And then he said something, and he was caught on record, it was in the paper. He said, Here's the deal. I don't believe in this, but it's too strong. I can't stop them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a little something, because otherwise they're going to want everything. And that's exactly what the Great Society was about. It was a little something that he wanted to give to us to keep us from advancing to where we're supposed to be. And 40 years later, we're seeing it come to fruition, and we have to put a stop to it. Now, let's fast forward to a couple days ago. Now, I want to talk about some current events. I'm going to be very honest. I didn't like what I saw here. I'm watching a man I admire. He's an inspiration to me, Clarence Thomas. And Clarence Thomas and Breyer, who's known to be a little bit of a liberal justice, were being interviewed by a congressional committee determining, we're going to give you money for, for the Supreme Court. And they were doing their whole, let's see if you're going to do what we want you to do. And a woman named Barbara Lee, she's part of the Nancy Pelosi, Barbara Boxer cabal, a light-skinned black woman, and he was interviewing Clarence Thomas, okay? And why I say this is important is because she's a woman who looked different.
We're trying to hand out constitutions.
This lady doesn't want me to hand out the Constitution.
We're trying to hand out the Constitution.
This Tea Party organizer doesn't want me to hand out the Constitution.
That's
The Tea Party? We can't hand out the Constitution at a Tea Party? This is ridiculous.
We're just handing out constitutions.
Hey, we be quiet for 10 more. So the story on how to deal with oppression or how to deal with discrimination is in that man's heart and soul. And this woman, who's significantly younger than her, had the audacity to say, I'm not satisfied because I don't think you, Clarence Thomas, are doing enough to have enough black clerks in the Supreme Court. So Clarence Thomas says, Miss Lee, we only have a limited pool of people who are even applying. I can't hire 16 clerks if there's only 3 applying. So I figured that's a good answer, right? She's, well, what are you doing to increase the pool of people coming? He says, well, I can't control that. That's on the local courts. So she says, well, can't you send out an edict saying that you expect to have more minorities and women elected in the judiciaries on the local levels? And he said, that's not my job. The Supreme Court's job is not social engineering. So then, a man named Jose Serrano, I live from New York, said, well, let me get to the point, okay? Here's the deal. These courts want money. They want it from the federal government. I'm just going to be honest with you, Mr. Thomas. If I don't start seeing the numbers bumped up, I don't care how they do it, we're going to withhold money from the lower courts. Yes, look it up. It's hard to find on YouTube, but press for that. He said this. Now, what is that? Is that the America that you guys know about? That is what I call progressive authoritarianism. See, there's no reason. Somebody said, hey, Jay, in your blogs, why have you never called them socialists? It's like the same reason why a prosecutor has somebody in trial and says, I'm not calling you the killer. I'm using Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, Exhibit D. I'm not going to call you names. I'm just going to point to your own actions and ask you to explain them. And I demand, and this is the types of things that we need our people running for office to talk about. You see, it's great to have all the talk show sound bites, and I love the fact that our senators are standing up to this. I really do. But we need to focus on issues like this, because it's important as a movement of Christians and as a movement of conservatives that we confront with strength the unprofessionalism of the other side, but not be demeaned as to using deceit. Because I would rather lose using the truth than win using deceit. And make no mistake, Republicans, I have never registered as a Republican. Okay, I vote for people because I believe in what they believe. Understand that yes, more power to you, GOP. I would love to see 61 constitutional conservative senators, but we are not here to get you elected. We are here to bring this nation back to where it is. There's a magical vibe I feel in this community. It's not just the beautiful attractions, and they are beautiful. It's the people. I can feel your love for one another. And you, this is to my understanding, you still have prayer in your schools. They didn't stop you. The atheists, the progressives, the socialists did not stop you. Many people, you hear the term states as a laboratory for the nation. Well, I think Branson's a laboratory for the America that we want to see. And on the note, there's another thing that's been bothering me is the way that you see the supporters of this agenda, if you want to call it that, say the Recovery Act, the stimulus package, saved America from the Depression. Do you guys believe that? No. Okay, just checking. Okay.